get this money. Blessed love and blessed day. Oh, boxing world, boxing nation, fighting world, fighting nation. No, we not trust them. Link up. Oh, glad. Quarter done. Tint. Quarter done. Mad. We just running some reggae, some dancehall in remembrance of the late and great Louis Rankin, Teddy Bruckshot from the movie Shatters. He also played in Belly with Nas and DMX. The Don Gargan. Louis Rankin, rest up, my brother, rest up. That's why we drive with we Cartington. Hot clot. Oh, we not trust them. All those Fanboy channels. Oh, we not trust them. Yo, Fanboy channels, man. Come on. Blessed love and blessed day. Oh, boxing world, boxing nation, fighting world, fight nation. It's Coach Fire, and this is real life boxing. No, we not trust them. We're gonna talk about fanboys, man, and fanboy channels. And if you're a new channel, why you shouldn't be a fanboy channel. Don't get caught in the fuckery. When around and roll me. Fanboy channels. It's not a good look, Fry. Quarter done. Carting top. No, we not trust them. That's why me drive with me carting top. No, me na link up. Whew. Fanboy channels, man. Fanboy channels. Whoa. On the aftermath of Errol Spence and Sean Porter, boy, have the fanboys come out. Have the fanboys come out. Channels. And I'm not gonna say any names because this ain't a diss video, and some of these channels I respect, you know what I'm saying? So I ain't calling no names. Shut that shit out, that's just aggravating. I ain't calling no names, but in my gracious and humble opinion, I feel like as boxing channels, boxing promoters, boxing educators, you know, we should try not to fanboy, you know what I'm saying? And I do understand that personal feelings, you know, attachments, you know, we like certain fighters, we get attached to certain fighters, you know, but the fanboyism, it's not a good look, Fry. And I'm gonna explain. And I said this in some of my prior videos also. The fanboyisms, right? After Sean Porter and Errol Spence, people are still talking about this fight. But now, all of a sudden, the attention is on Terrence Bud Crawford. it's all of a sudden, it's like the same thing with Wilder and Anthony Joshua and all of that stuff. It's all of a sudden, it's now Terrence Crawford. The blame is Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? The Errol Spence fanboys now are attacking Terrence Crawford, saying that Sean Porter would beat Terrence Crawford and all these things. But it took, the thing that kills me is that it took them, for them to see how Sean Porter performed against Errol Spence, to come out and say that Sean Porter would beat Terrence Crawford. Because wasn't nobody saying that shit before this fight? Wasn't nobody saying that before this fight, that Sean Porter would beat Terrence Crawford? You know what I mean? So to me, it's just, it's funny. You know what I'm saying? It's mad funny that all of a sudden now everyone is pushing for Sean Porter to go and fight Terrence Crawford because Sean Porter gave Errol Spence such a good fight. So now everyone's like, oh, Sean Porter would beat Terrence Crawford. But it took them to see how well Sean Porter performed against Errol Spence to say that. When I've been saying all the while, and the channels that are not fanboys have been saying all the while, that Sean Porter was going to be a tough fight for Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of channels were saying Errol Spence is going to dog walk him. He's going to beat the hell out of... I listened to channels on a daily basis that were saying that Errol Spence is going to dog walk Sean Porter, and that he's going to knock Sean Porter out and was just going to roll over him. You know what I'm saying? And all the while, I was saying, nah, Errol Spence is not going to dog walk Sean Porter. Errol Spence is not going to dog walk Sean Porter. I kept saying it was going to be Errol Spence's toughest fight. I kept saying after this fight, the questions that I have of Errol Spence will be answered. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think anything different of Errol Spence now than I did before this fight. I pretty much thought that the fight would go that way. You know what I'm saying? And I pretty much thought that he would handle it how he handled it. You know what I'm saying? And that's I also was saying that it was going to be a good fight, a tough fight. Errol Spence would win a close, tough fight, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sean Porter won. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't doubting any of the fighters, either of the fighters' capabilities. I understood what the fight was going to be. You know what I'm saying? And I understand what the fight against Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford would be. I understand what the fight with Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter would be. And the thing about it is, I keep saying this. None of these welterweights, the welterweights that we have in the division right now, at the top of the welterweight, none of them are that much better than the other. These are all close fights. We've seen Keith Thurman and Sean Porter in a close fight, Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia and Sean Porter, Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman, now Errol Spence and Sean Porter. They've all been close fights. You know what I mean? And they will all be close fights. You know what I'm saying? So now the same thing that they did to Sean Porter, they discredited Sean Porter going into the Errol Spence fight, is the same thing that they're going to do to Danny Garcia. They're going to discredit Danny Garcia going into the Errol Spence fight, and they're going to say the same thing, that Errol Spence is going to dog walk him and all these things. And then when it doesn't happen and when it's a close fight, you know, they're going to be saying, oh, but Danny is a good fighter. Danny is, I mean, I listen to these dudes contradict themselves so many times that it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? I heard somebody say Danny Garcia is a B-class fighter. He's not one of the top welterweights in the world. He's a B-class fighter. And then this morning, I'm listening to the same person, and they said that Danny Garcia is one of the best welterweights in the world. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, I listen to these guys constantly contradict themselves. Now, that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna be a fanboy, like, it's not gonna work. And if you're a younger, smaller channel, you should stray away from being a fanboy. You should completely stray away from that. You know, like I said, even with me, I've been covering boxing for like a little bit more than a year now. You know what I'm saying? And in the time that I've been covering boxing, I've learned to separate my personal feelings from actually covering boxing, because I mean, you know, it's your channel. You can talk about what you want. You can see things how you want. But if you're trying to educate, you know, the masses, and then people that are not, you know, that are not as educated in boxing as you are, I feel like you should try to call it down the middle. And you can still have your personal feelings, but when you're reporting, you should try to call it right down the middle. Just like we get upset at the commentators that are commentating fights when they're not calling it down the middle, you know, we get upset. So I feel like as boxing channels, we should try to call it down the middle. And then, you know, when you do that, you won't have a problem, or you won't look stupid when the fight didn't go, you know, how you wanted it to go. And you know what I mean? Because like all the channels that were saying that Errol Spence was gonna dog walk Sean Porter, now they're putting all their attention towards Sean Porter against Terence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? Like, but what in the world does Terence Crawford have to do with what in the world does Terence Crawford have to do with Sean Porter and Errol Spence? You know what I mean? It for me, it didn't change anything. Like for me, I already know that if Sean Porter fights Terence Crawford, it's gonna be a tough fight for Terence Crawford. But me personally, I think that Terence Crawford would outbox Sean Porter. You know what I mean? Out of all the welterweights, I feel like Terence Crawford is the best pure boxer. So, and not to mention he's a boxer puncher. So with that being said, I think that Terence Crawford outboxes Errol Spence, and I think that Terence Crawford can outbox Sean Porter. And Terence Crawford is a dog. But it's just you know, and that's just my personal opinion, but it's still I still give it, you know, it's still 50-50. I'm not saying that Terence Crawford would. I'm saying that Terence Crawford has the ability to. You know what I'm saying? If he's able to do it or not once it comes fight night is a different story. You know what I'm saying? But with the way that Terence Crawford moves, and the way that he punches, and the way that he boxes, I feel like he would beat both. He has the ability to beat both Errol Spence and Sean Porter. You know what I mean? I feel like Errol Spence could have outboxed Sean Porter and made it an easier fight if he would have just boxed. But for some reason, Errol Spence has this mindset where he thinks he has to prove to people that he can fight, you know, a certain way, or that he can beat them at their own fighting style, which I don't think is gonna be is gonna be the best thing for him, you know, as his career continues. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta start fighting smarter than that. You know, trying to show that you could outbox Mikey Garcia when you could have probably stopped him, and then trying to, you know, pressure fight Sean Porter when you could have probably outboxed Sean Porter. It's like, you know, but you know, back to the fanboy discussion. It's not it's just like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Anthony Joshua loses to Andy Ruiz. Anthony Joshua fans attack Deontay Wilder, saying, "Oh, you was ducking him. You could have took the fight earlier. This could have been you." You know, all these things, which is quite irrelevant. And unbiased or biased boxing talk, exactly. Bernard Brown, thank you for addressing it. No doubt, man. It's you know, sometime I'd be listening to these channels, and then I'm like, Just like this morning in that video that I was listening to, and I was about to leave a comment, you know, saying like, wow, you guys just keep getting, you know, worse and worse, man. But, you know, I was like, you know, no, I'm not gonna do that, because, you know, it's a channel that I respect. Actually, one of the channels that I started off listening to a lot, but I don't listen to as much. But I happened to be listening to this morning, and I was just like, wow. And I was about to leave a comment, and I was like, nah, you know what? I'm not even gonna leave a comment. I'll just do a video on it. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. All these welterweights are gonna give each other a good. These are all good, exciting fights, man. Danny Garcia and Errol Spence is another good, tough fight, and I think it's much. I think that Danny Garcia does very, very, very well against Errol Spence, much better than what people are gonna give him credit for. You know, it's just kind of sad, and it's funny at the same time, honestly. You know what I mean? But yeah, again, if you're a smaller channel, starting out, I guess some of the bigger channels, you know, some of the bigger channels could get away with it, because I guess they already have a bigger following, and their following is okay with it. But I don't advise any new channels, any smaller channels. I don't advise smaller channels to follow that method right there of fanboying certain fighters, because it's not a good look. You know what I mean? These are the same. Some of these cats are the same cats who say that, you know, they're you know, they're for the black fighter. They're for the black fighter, but yet then they stay dissing Terrence Crawford, or they stay dissing Anthony Joshua. You know what I mean? It's like, are these guys not black fighters? And I don't even get into all that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's just I'm a fan of boxing. Obviously, you know, obviously I'm black, so, you know, maybe I may root for the black fighter first in certain cases, but I wouldn't, even if I feel that way, I'm not gonna come out on my video and be like, oh, you know what I'm saying, I'm just rooting for him, you know, because he's black. And I don't do that anyway. You know what I'm saying? I don't, if I'm watching two fighters and I'm not necessarily a fan of either fighter, like, to me it doesn't really matter who wins, you know what I'm saying, as long as it's a good fight. Sometime I might start watching a fight, you know, and I'm not a fan of either fighter, and I may become a fan of, you know, one of the fighters for whatever reason. Maybe I like the way he's fighting, maybe he's the underdog, you know what I'm saying? But it really don't matter. I just try not to mix, you know, that you know, I just feel like, you know, certain stuff is better off, you know what I mean, unsaid. Like, I don't have to say certain things. It's kind of, you know, it's just kind of natural. Like, it is what it is. But again, I advise younger channels, younger, smaller channels. I really advise not to take the fanboy, the fanboy road. You know what I'm saying? I think that real boxing fans would respect it more. And like I said, you know, your channel, you can do whatever you want on your channel, just like I tell people all the time. This is my channel. I can do what I want on my channel. At least that's under the YouTube guidelines. But yeah, man. You know, all these fights are great fights. All these fights are 50-50 fights to me, right down the middle. And that's why they should really happen right now. That's why these fights should really happen right now, because we have a great class of welterweights right now. So I feel like they should definitely get it in, they should definitely fight. You know what I'm saying? Because we can have an era like, you know, like the Sugar Ray. There's even more names than that era. Than the Sugar Ray, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. You know what I'm saying? We can have that type of era here. We just need all these fighters to fight each other, because there are great fighters right now in the welterweight division, hands down. Make sure you smash on the like button when you join the stream. We just going over Fanboy boxing channels. You know what I'm saying? And we're not dropping no names because it's not a diss video. It's just me, you know. It's just me saying my opinion and my feelings on Fanboy channels. I'm not a fan of it. You know, if you're a boxing channel, I'm not a fan of it. If you're being a fanboy for any fighter, I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm not mad if you favor fighters, but certain topics and certain things, you know, whether you know you're a fan of one fighter and not the other fighter, I feel like you should still call it right down the middle with certain things until the fight happens. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, everybody was saying Sean Porter was gonna dog walk Errol Spence. Errol Spence was gonna dog walk Sean Porter. Errol Spence was gonna knock Sean Porter out, and then it didn't happen. And you know, everybody is singing a different tune now. Everybody is jumping on Terrence Crawford's case. Everyone is jumping on Danny Garcia's case. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is jumping on everybody else's case. You know, because Errol Spence did not dog walk Sean Porter. You know what I'm saying? It's all of a sudden, you know, well, Terrence Crawford wouldn't beat Sean Porter either. You know what I'm saying? Or well, Sean Porter would give Terrence Crawford a tough fight too. Or Sean Porter would beat Terrence Crawford too. You know what I'm saying? It's like that type of mentality we got to get out of. You know what I'm saying? Just like I said, it wasn't Deontay Wilder's fault that Anthony Joshua lost to Andrew Ruiz. It's not Terrence Crawford's fault that Sean Porter gave Errol Spence a good fight. It doesn't have nothing to do with Terrence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, all of these guys are good fighters. All these guys are world-class, top of the division welterweights. So, in my opinion, I expect all of them to give each other good fights. You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence dropped Sean Porter. He wasn't able to drop him until the 11th round. You know what I'm saying? Dropped him in the 11th round. So, to me, all these fighters give each other good fights. All these fighters give each other close fights. All of the top welterweights in the world, I think they all give each other close, good, exciting fights. And then we shouldn't be mad at that, or we shouldn't hate on another fight. We shouldn't hate on one of the fighters because he gave the other fighter a good fight. Like, what do you expect to happen? You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence is not gonna knock out all the top welterweights in the division. You know what I'm saying? No. He's not gonna knock out all the top welterweights in the division. All right. None of them are gonna knock out all of the top welterweights in the division. You know what I'm saying? So we shouldn't be surprised when two of them fight and it's a close fight and it's a split decision and you know they're both beat up and one of them is cut. Like, we shouldn't be surprised, nor should we blame it on any of the other fighters. You know what I'm saying? Because none of the PBC fighters were calling Terrence Crawford's name before this fight. But now all of a sudden, you know, Sean Porter wants to fight Terrence Crawford. So, you know, don't be a fanboy, man. Especially if you're a channel, don't be a fanboy. But I'm gonna leave you guys with that, and I'm gonna end this, and I'm gonna make some more videos. You know what I'm saying? Cause we on the case today. Y'all know what it is. I see those hands rolling. That's timely. Timely. Time slip. Catch timely. It ain't tight. Y'all know what it is. Hey, keep fighting your fight. Protect yourself at all times, and do not, I repeat, do not be a fanboy. It's Coach Fire, and this is Real Life Boxing.